Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman is the Republican candidate for governor. So my first question to you is this: what is your vision for New York that would be substantially different from the present governor?
Well, first of all, we're the most overtaxed and overregulated state in the United States. So we need to cut taxes so that people can afford to live here and so that businesses will want to stay here, and hopefully we could get some to move in. You got to create economic development. That's how you make it more affordable, by getting better jobs with higher wages.
But if you cut taxes, how are you going to spend all the money that's being spent in the state now to fund all these programs?
Well, first of all, we're going to cut out a lot of the crazy programs that Kathy Hochul has supported.
Like what? What are you cutting?
The green energy scam. Billions and billions of dollars, $14 billion being spent on offshore windmills that produce no energy.
Yeah, but they're trying to reduce the cost of electricity for people. People are screaming about utility bills.
Exactly. It's the most expensive form of energy production.
So how would you deal with energy? How would you reduce my electric bill?
Yeah, so Marcia, first of all, I cut your electric bill in half because 2/3 of your electric bill are taxes, delivery fees.
That's actually true.
And the policy mandates. When you pay your utility bill, you're paying a tax, and you've already been taxed. You pay property taxes, you pay income tax.
But if you keep cutting all these taxes, where will the money come to fix the state?
Well, first of all, you don't need to spend money on a green energy scam with billions and billions of dollars going to try and make our state all electric, which is a pipe dream. The only people that are making money on this or seeing any kind of benefit are her contributors who are part of this green energy scam. We are sitting in New York State on one of the largest natural gas reserves in the world, almost equivalent to Saudi Arabia. And we're not drilling, which would create cheap energy, because the environmentalists don't want to do it. They do it in Pennsylvania, they do it in Texas, they do it in California, but Kathy Hochul doesn't want to do it here in New York.
We're really talking about fracking, which is like a bad word in New York State.
It shouldn't be a bad word. It's nothing more than taking the natural gas out of the ground, creating cheap energy, and providing this natural gas, which will drive the costs down. It's all supply and demand. If you increase the supply, then the price goes down.
So what else will you cut?
Well, first of all, Medicaid is twice as much as the state of Florida, even though Florida has...
cut Medicaid?
Of course.
So, but how will people get health care?
Not cutting people's benefits, but cutting out the fraud and waste. We've seen in Minneapolis how government funds, Medicaid funds, have been used, and they've been abused. They don't go to service anybody. They don't go to make people more well.
So where's the waste?
The waste actually is in who is eligible, the delivery system, who gets paid, how much they get paid. Think about this. The state of Florida has a bigger population. Our Medicaid costs are twice what they are in Florida. Does that mean that our people are sicker here? No, it means there's fraud, waste, and abuse. On day one, we'll go in there without cutting services.
But isn't it also the fact that doctors charge a lot more here than they do in Florida?
No, I think they charge an equivalent amount in Florida. The doctors are doing very well in Florida, by the way. I have some relatives that are doctors down there who do all right. But the fact of the matter is that there's no reason why our Medicaid costs should be twice as much as Florida. They're more than the state of Texas and Florida combined.
So what's your strategy for beating Kathy Hochul, who's now way far ahead of you in the polls?
Well, we've caught up. We cut our lead in half. The latest poll that came out has me 13 points down. It took Lee Zeldin to get to September before, well, that he won. He lost by 5 points, but it took him to get within 13 points till September. We're 6 months ahead of that. So we're raising the money. Her unfavorable ratings are off the charts. People are miserable in the state of New York. It's unaffordable because of Kathy Hochul. She pretends that she hasn't been governor for the last 4 years. If it's unaffordable, Kathy Hochul, you're responsible for that. We can make it more affordable, cut energy costs, cut taxes, bring businesses back, create economic development, create prosperity, make people happy again in New York State. Right now, they're miserable. So I want to make them happy by putting New Yorkers first and not spend billions and billions and billions of dollars on illegal migrants who've been here for 15 minutes. They haven't earned a thing. And she's giving away billions of dollars of our tax dollars to people who just arrived here. It's crazy.
I have to ask you about President Trump, who some people think would be an albatross around your neck because he's not that popular in the state. So I wonder, like, is he going to help you? Is he going to hurt you? Are you going to distance yourself from him? What's the story?
No, look, first of all, I'm not a phony. Everybody knows that I supported President Trump. Everybody knows that I'm a friend of President Trump. So I'm not going to be a phony.
People in New York don't like him.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. That's how I won in a landslide in Nassau County with 110,000 more Democrats, because when we disagreed, let's say we disagree on Trump.
Is there any area, a thing that he's done that you disagree with?
Yes.
Name one.
I'm not going to say it in public.
Oh, come on.
I don't do that to my friends.
Okay. But there are things that he's done in New York that have aggravated people. For example, cutting off funds to Gateway. Do you disagree with that?
I have talked to the president about a number of different things. I keep those conversations confidential, but I can assure you of one thing. When I become governor, and I am going to be the next governor of this state, President Trump will be very, very kind to the state of New York, because he'll have a partner that he loves New York. He wants New York to be prosperous. He wants New York to be safe and affordable.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, basically what you're saying is if you become governor, all the things that he's done in terms of cutting aid for schools and all these other programs, Gateway, among others, is going to stop. He's going to start giving money to New York instead of cutting money to New York.
Well, if the money's not spent foolishly, if the money is spent in a cost-efficient way, delivering quality services, then we can get money from the federal government. But the federal government looks at the way that New York State spends money, and it's like throwing it into a black hole. The fact of the matter is, why did New York City spend $8 billion of our tax dollars on illegal migrants? Why did the state of New York spend almost $6 billion? That's $14 billion that could have been spent on New Yorkers, for hospitals, for schools, for infrastructure, to cut taxes.
What should we have done if the immigrants came here? Just say, you're on your own?
No, put them on a bus and send them back to where they came from. They're not supposed to be here.
That would be Texas, one of your friends, run by a Republican governor.
Yeah, well, that's because Kathy Hochul created a sanctuary state. That ends when I become governor.
So you're going to stop, we're not going to be a sanctuary state?
We will not be a sanctuary state. On day one, I will sign an executive order. We are not a sanctuary state. I want the money, the hardworking taxpayer dollars, to go for New Yorkers. It's their money. Why are we spending on people who just arrived here who haven't earned a thing? It doesn't make any sense. Let the countries where they came from take care of them. Why does New Yorkers have to pay the price?
I need to ask you a question. So on Friday, the Supreme Court struck down the tariff programs that President Trump enacted, saying it was unconstitutional because the president doesn't have the right to set tariffs. Congress does. Your reaction to that?
My reaction to it is, President Trump is at least trying to help the workers of New York State by trying to make an even playing field. Why is it that if we want to sell a car overseas, there's a 50% tariff, but if Japan or some other country or South Korea or Germany wants to sell their car here, that they virtually have no tariffs? So we want an even playing field so we can get manufacturing jobs back in New York State.
Do you think the Supreme Court was right to say that there should be Congress that sets tariffs?
I think they should have given the president a lot more leeway. I haven't read the decision yet. It just came out, but I think they should give the president more leeway.
So it's one other thing we have to talk about. You have spent much of the last week attacking the actions of the mayor of the city of New York, Mr. Mamdani. Now, if you become governor, you're going to have to work with him. So how would you work with a guy that you seem to disagree with on almost everything he does?
Well, first of all, I'm going to keep him in check. If he tries to ruin the economy of the city of New York, I'm going to stop that. If he tries to impose a 9.5% property tax increase on the people of the city of New York, I will stop that. If he doesn't enforce the law, I will stop that. He's not going to make the city less safe. I won't stand for that as governor. And he's not going to destroy the economy of New York City. I won't stand for that. And I'm not going to let him impose a 9.5% property tax hike on the hardworking families of New York City.
So what about all the things he wants from Albany? He wants free buses. He wants childcare. He wants to tax the rich. Any of those things you could get behind?
No, not at all.
Listen, even childcare?
He doesn't. Childcare, I would give tax credits. I would give tax credits for people who are working, for whether it's a single-parent home or it's two parents that need to work. I would give them a tax credit so you can verify that they're actually working, so you give them the benefit. But I don't want to give them a blank check so they can pay for daycare and then sit home and watch, cartoons or The View. That's not going to happen with me as governor.
So let me ask you this. So Kathy Hochul endorsed Zohar Mamdani. Was that a mistake?
Well, I think it was a terrible mistake because I think he's a terrible mayor. He has no executive experience. This guy hasn't run the graveyard shift of a Dairy Queen in the middle of the winter, and now he's got one of the largest economies that he's running in the world. It makes no sense. He has no managerial skills. He is an avowed collectivist, which is a communist, and this city was built on capitalism. It was the financial capital of the world. I intend to keep it that way.
So other than that, you really like him. I'm just kidding. So we have about 30 seconds left. How can you tell us in 15 seconds how you would keep him in check? Just do nothing for him?
The governor has tremendous powers over the purse, and if he wants things, if he wants money for projects, he's got to run a cost-efficient budget, and he's got to make sure that he enforces the law and that our communities are safe. And then he's got to pick up the garbage, and he's got to plow the snow, which he hasn't done.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it right there.